this is Ubaid on behalf of B Electronics, and in this video, we'll be talking about comparative versus absolute advantage. Okay, now when it comes to absolute advantage, it has to do with being able to produce something, produce a good or a commodity more than the other country or the other party. Okay, so you have absolute advantage over here. So producing more of something, being able to produce more of something. Okay, however, comparative advantage on the other side has to do with producing something at a lower opportunity cost than the other party or nation or state or province. Okay, so this is comparative advantage, lower opportunity cost. Okay, one such example would be commodities. Okay, so when it comes to wheat and sugarcane production, for example, okay, certain nations or countries in the world may be able to produce more sugarcane because of their climate. Okay, so when it comes to sugarcane, we know that sugarcane requires tropical climate. Okay, so places near the water, okay, places that are warm near the equator. Okay, so sugarcane production in a tropical climate, as a result of which, okay, countries like Brazil produce a lot of sugarcane. Okay, so you have Brazil as one of the top producers. And when they produce sugarcane, they have an absolute advantage for that particular crop. Okay, because they produce more than other countries such as the US. Okay, so this is absolute advantage. On the other side, US might have an absolute advantage when it comes to wheat. Okay, now wheat does require moderate temperatures, which means extreme temperatures are not good for wheat, as a result of which certain places in the US where you have moderate temperatures, okay, let's say anywhere between 15 and 30 degrees Celsius, okay, may be able to produce wheat more than certain places on this planet, such as Brazil. So obviously, US has absolute advantage when it comes to producing wheat compared to Brazil, okay, because they're able to produce more. Now, when it comes to comparative advantage, okay, the opportunity cost of producing sugarcane in Brazil is less than producing sugarcane in the US. Why? Because if you think about it, okay, sugarcane requires tropical climate. And where do we find that tropical climate in the US? Well, you may find the tropical climate in Florida. Okay, that's the reason why Florida is one of the largest producers of sugarcane in the US. And you may also find that tropical climate in California, okay, which is near the Pacific Ocean, as a result of which, okay, California and Florida may be able to produce sugarcane in the US. However, if you consider the area of California and Florida together, okay, that area is much smaller than the area in Brazil, which is suitable for sugarcane production. As a result of which, the comparative advantage trophy goes to Brazil when it comes to sugarcane production, right? So Brazil also has comparative advantage over the US when it comes to sugarcane production. So this is comparative. Okay, on the other side, US has a comparative advantage over Brazil when it comes to wheat production. Okay, because they're able to allocate as much land as they want, okay, for wheat production without having a shortage of land for other commodities and other grain products. Okay, so US has a comparative advantage when it comes to wheat production. All right. Now, if you look at the production possibilities frontier chart, okay, assuming that this is your sugar cane over here, assuming that this is your wheat, we know that as per the law of opportunity cost, okay, as you allocate more resources towards production of good A, away from good B, what's going to end up happening is, okay, the opportunity cost goes up as you allocate more resources, okay, and vice versa. So when it comes to sugarcane and wheat, and assuming this is for Brazil over here, so let's assume that this production possibility frontier chart is for Brazil. So when it comes to your sugarcane production, okay, for Brazil, Brazil has a lower opportunity cost for sugarcane. Okay, so Brazil is able to produce more sugarcane on land that they can allocate to wheat. Okay, so for example, if Brazil was to produce sugarcane, okay, they can produce more sugarcane on per acre of land compared to the amount of wheat they would be able to produce on the same acre. So in that case, they're sacrificing a lot of sugarcane to produce a small quantity of wheat. Okay, so assuming that this is point B over here, and this is quantity, this is the amount of production you have for wheat. And assuming this is point A over here, this is for sugarcane, and this is the amount of production you can have for sugarcane on a given acre of land. So in that case, the opportunity cost of producing wheat is higher in Brazil compared to the opportunity cost of producing sugarcane because you have a lot of land that you can allocate for the production of sugarcane, but not a lot of land that you can allocate for the production of wheat in Brazil. Okay, and this is the opposite in the US. If you look at the production possibilities frontier chart, in the US, you have more wheat being produced. Okay, so more wheat and not too much of sugarcane, as a result of which, in the US, the opportunity cost of producing sugarcane is higher compared to Brazil, and the opportunity cost of producing wheat is lower compared to Brazil. And as I mentioned earlier, you have two states that produce sugarcane, for example. In that case, you only have a certain amount of area that you can produce your sugarcane in, as a result of which the opportunity cost goes high because you can use that area for other products, for other commodities, for other grain products, for other crops. Okay, so this is basically how comparative and absolute advantage works when it comes to commodities. Hey, this is Obeid on behalf of V Electronics. Have yourself a great day.